Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'm so glad we can meet today via Zoom just to chat a little bit about how Johnny is doing since he joined our school 2 months ago. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some wonderful things with you. So if you give me a moment, I will share my screen. And I have a little presentation that I have made that will guide us as we talk through the ways that we're getting to know Johnny and what we're seeing. So this is Johnny's evidence and plan of action that we will get to in just a moment. But before we do, I would love to share with you my philosophy of education so that you can know me better. I believe that every child is an image bearer of God and comes to us with gifts and curiosity that long to be nurtured. In addition to introducing important content and teaching necessary skills, my goal in the classroom is to create a safe and welcoming environment in which each of my students can thrive. I want to know my students in such a way as to meet their current needs and grow their future potential. My students will be challenged to think critically and biblically, to strive for excellence, and to fail graciously. My students will know that they are seen, that they are loved, and that they have something to offer this world. And I'm so grateful that Johnny can join my classroom and be a part of this group of wonderful students. So as we all know, Johnny has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. And before you is a list of some of the things that we are doing to support Johnny in that. We have arranged for an ABA therapist to be in my classroom and work with Johnny. She's working currently on increasing his positive behaviors and decreasing his negative behaviors. Also working with him on communication skills and social skills and some antecedent-based training, which helps Johnny have the tools he needs to face certain situations before they ever happen. In addition, we are offering more visual supports, social narratives, self-regulation tools, and peer training for the whole class. And it's been a really beautiful thing to see how these have helped all of my students. Johnny has the use of noise-canceling headphones when he needs them, a rocker stool, ambient lighting, and he has permission to stand and move as much as he needs to. We've given Johnny preferential seating, which for him means putting him in the front of the class near me, as well as on the side so that he does have access to get up and move when he needs to without disturbing the rest of the students. Also, I am allowing Johnny to work alone instead of in groups when that's best for him, and he always has access to assistive technology. If we move on to Johnny's diagnosis of ADHD combined type, we know that means that sometimes he's distracted and sometimes he needs to move. So these are the things that we are trying out to see how they work with Johnny. We really want to use a strength-based strategy all the time with Johnny to address his deficit areas. So we are planning lots of lessons that have movement and hands-on activities. I'm using experiential entry points to really grab the students' attention and get them engaged quickly. And again, these are things that really help the whole classroom. And so it's been exciting to see that at work. We really want to give Johnny a choice in how he accesses information and how he shows his work and his understanding. For example, he's such a good artist. And so I am allowing Johnny to show me what he learns with art and drawings instead of using words, if that's what he chooses to do. Once again, he has preferential seating. He's given extra time for taking tests. Sometimes I will shorten assignments so he doesn't have as much writing to do. And he has always access to my notes to help him learn. Once again, we're using ambient lighting, the use of the wiggle seats and fidgets, and Johnny has freedom to stand and move and access that assistive technology whenever he needs it. So some of those supports are very much the same or are actually the same. I want to go on to the strengths that we're already seeing in Johnny. He has an extensive vocabulary, advanced reading abilities, perseverance, he's detail-oriented, he's highly creative, he's a divergent thinker, a novel problem solver, and he is excelling in his science, reading, art, and PE classes. These are some of the things that I'm hearing from his teachers. He is a pleasure to have in class. He is highly engaged in hands-on lessons. He works well on his own. He is full of amazing and creative thoughts. He gets engrossed in books. He is insightful, has good input in class discussions, and he is really working on improving his friendships, his communication, his problem solving, and his emotional regulation skills. We still have some concerns. Johnny struggles with handwriting across the subjects, and that is affecting some of his grades. Johnny can be easily distracted when he's bored or the subject isn't his favorite. Johnny can get frustrated when work is too easy or repetitive. And I see this most in math when he's filling out worksheets or having to practice math facts. He really wants novel information, not to keep doing those repetitive exercises. Um, Johnny is sometimes overwhelmed with noises, fluorescent lighting, and physical proximity. We see this in music class, and we also see this in the lunchroom. But Johnny has been really great about taking his headphones with him and sitting on the edge of the bench, so he's not squished between other classmates, and that seems to be helping. And the last one would just be his need for movement breaks. Sometimes that can be distracting in class, so we're trying to teach him some skills where he can get that same sense of movement without getting out of his seat quite as often. Now, we've done some tests. Even though Johnny came to us with a diagnosis of ADHD, we wanted to just see where he was on the scale. So we offered Johnny the Connors Behavioral Rating Scale, and his teachers have filled that out as well. And Johnny comes up with a T-score of 69 in hyperactivity and impulsivity, which, as you can see, is an elevated score, but it's not the very elevated score. And so we really think that some of these supports we have in place are going to help Johnny with his ADHD. The next screen is Johnny's results from the Stanford Achievement Test that all of the students in the third grade took recently. And you will see he is just such a smart young man. Johnny scored in the 94th percentile overall in reading. In the word study skills, he is in the 92nd percentile. So that means just 8% of the students in the nation who are Johnny's age would score above him. So he's in the very top percentage all across the board in reading and math. And we pulled these scores out because this is really where Johnny excels. His reading vocabulary, he is in the 96th percentile, which is not really all that much of a surprise since he loves to read so much. And his reading comprehension is in the 80th, still very strong. But we think that that might be a little bit lower because he reads so fast. He's not taking in all the information that would otherwise be available to him. If you can see on the right side, I have the grade equivalents here for Johnny. And in his reading, he is overall working at the same level as a ninth grader. His study skills are up to an 11th grade level. His vocabulary is close to a 10th grade level, and his comprehension is solidly in that 8th grade level. Now in math, Johnny has again a 94th percentile score. His problem solving is in the 98th percentile. So he tests out of high school with those skills. He's a great problem solver. And his procedures are in the 85th percentile. Some of that is the handwriting issue and some other gaps that Johnny has, but that still puts him in the 6th grade equivalent with his math procedures. So he is a very smart young man. He's achieving well, and we believe he has even more potential, which is why we also administered the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children for Johnny. And here are his scores. So we have a bell curve here showing all the scores possible. His verbal comprehension is at 135, which is in the very superior rating. He's visual spatial, he's at a 125, and his fluid reasoning at a 122, which are both in the superior category. And then we see a bit of a discrepancy. When we look at Johnny's working memory, it's at 89, and his processing speed is at 83. So those are both in the low average, bringing his full scale IQ to 111, which is still in the high average. But it's the discrepancy that we see between the verbal comprehension, visual spatial, and fluid reasoning scores and his working memory and processing speed that lead us to believe or to know that Johnny is gifted. His full scale score is already there, but we believe it's even higher if we take those things into account. And so Johnny is a student that we call 2E, or twice exceptional. Johnny has giftedness on the one side, and then he has ADHD and autism that he struggles with that really make things a little bit more complex for him. Sometimes those disabilities mask the giftedness and make it hard to see, which is the case. We didn't know Johnny's working memory and his processing speed were such a struggle because he's so smart. But now that we know that, we have a new support plan that we would like to put in place that will still support Johnny with the needs that he has, but also really give him a chance to shine in the giftedness that God has given him. So let me show you on this next page a new support plan that we have for Johnny. And starting immediately, we would love to have Johnny enroll in our gifted program, Explore. In Explore, he will be challenged in math and reading. He will learn alongside students with similar giftings. He will be able to pursue his areas of interest and take part in project-based learning units. And he will receive some really important social emotional support within that group. Johnny will continue to work with his ABA therapist in the classroom and work on those skills that he is starting to hone in on. He will continue to meet with learning services to work on executive functioning skills. So this is going to help Johnny with his working memory and his processing speed. Johnny will also continue to work on self-regulation of his emotions, voice, and body in the classroom, which he's doing a great job on. And Johnny will be given choice wherever possible in the way he accesses information and shows his learning. Johnny is such a great young man, and we're really pleased to have him at our school. I'm excited how this new support plan will serve Johnny and support Johnny even more than we've been able to do thus far. And we hope that you will start to see changes, benefits, and growth in Johnny that we know are coming. One last slide, I just wanted to show you our references, some of the authoritative material that I've used in putting together the presentation, but Johnny speaks for himself. He is a great student and we're blessed to have him. So thank you very much for your time today. Just get this out of sharing, and I hope that we can meet again soon with another update. Thank you.